Hello and welcome to the Memory Card. The hack and slash spectacle fighter genre has been popular for a number of years now, and I would definitely say it hit its mainstream success and peak with the God of War games on the PS2, and one could argue the Devil May Cry games as well. But today we're going to be talking about my favorite series in the genre, the Bayonetta games, although we're just going to be talking about Bayonetta 1 on the Wii U today. It didn't get its own physical release, it was just a pack-in disc with Bayonetta 2 on the Wii U, so just got this to show off for today. Bayonetta was originally released in 2010 in the West on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but the version that I'm going to be reviewing here is the Wii U release. That came out in 2014 as a free pack-in for Bayonetta 2, and Bayonetta 2 is a Wii U exclusive. It took me a while to track down a copy of Bayonetta 2 from the original print run that include the disc for Bayonetta 1 as well, because this version retains its value. You can get just a standalone copy of Bayonetta 2 for like 20 bucks, at least at the time of recording. Bayonetta 1 was recently ported to the PC, and I haven't played that version, but I imagine it plays fantastically, and it probably has a better frame rate. Now, Bayonetta was made by Platinum Games, and Sega published the original game, but not the sequel. But we'll get back to that in my Bayonetta 2 video. Platinum Games is comprised of the same creative minds that gave us Nier Automata, or Automata, I think it's Automata, Mad World, Transformers Devastation, Star Fox Zero, The Wonderful 101, Okami, and Beautiful Joe. Overall, Platinum Games is one of my favorite developers in the industry, and the Bayonetta games are my favorite of theirs, although there are a lot of fantastic games in their catalog, like Okami and the others. They're largely formed from the venerated but now non-existent Clover Studios. Clover was one of the best studios Capcom ever had, and they were responsible for some of the best games in the 6th generation of consoles. Games made by Platinum Games are generally very high quality and unique, and that's no different with Bayonetta or Bayonetta 2. In this game, you play as the titular character Bayonetta, an Umbran witch, and she's on a mission to stop the last Lumen Sage and regain her lost memories. And the game does a good job of explaining its story, and I certainly cared about the characters involved, but the story is definitely not the highlight of Bayonetta. To me, the main cores of Bayonetta, and what helped make this game one of the best in the genre, are the extremely tight and rewarding gameplay and controls, the abundant style pouring out of every aspect of the game, the charm and personality of the character Bayonetta, and the artistic design throughout the entire game. Bayonetta is honestly one of my favorite characters in any video game, and it's not because she's some hugely deep, complex character that you might find among the best role-playing games. Bayonetta is just fun, confident, absolutely owns who she is and loves it. She owns and is empowered by her sexuality, which is great, and I especially love just how confident and badass she is in just about every situation. But luckily, she doesn't become a Mary Sue to me, because she isn't always in complete control and completely infallible. She has flaws. She can be selfish and rude and all that kind of thing, but she's got a character arc where she gets a little bit more refinement to her character, and I definitely appreciate that. But the main reason I love Bayonetta is the same reason I love her games. She's just over-the-top fun and style incarnate. I mean, she spends the entire game dual-wielding pistols and has pistols on her heels. She's just ridiculous and as fun as the game itself. One stylistic choice that I think is really cool, if a bit weird, is that throughout the game at multiple points, a cover of Fly Me to the Moon is played, and it's kind of like Bayonetta's theme song. It is a great cover, but I definitely prefer the Frank Sinatra version. Although it makes sense that this was chosen for the theme. For one thing, the moon is prominently featured in most art of Bayonetta, and the Umbran Witches have a connection to the moon in the same way the Lumen Sages are connected to the sun. It also helps that Bayonetta has a crescent moon cut out of her outfit in the first game. So using Flying Beats of the Moon is definitely a bit on the nose, but I've got to admit that seeing Bayonetta dance to the song throughout the end credits was pretty funny. There's a lot of thought and care put into just about every aspect of this game, and one thing I think is really cool about Bayonetta is all the thought and design that was put into the character Bayonetta and the game world itself. Bayonetta uses her hair in magic, and that actually comes from superstitious beliefs about witches in the Middle Ages, using their hair in spells and being seductresses that work for the devil. So because of that, Bayonetta uses her hair not only as most of her clothes, which is a bit weird, but for her summoning spells, and those ties to the lore from the Middle Ages is part of why she's such a sexual character. That's also partially why Bayonetta fights and kills angels for pretty much demon contractors. I really dig the designs of the angels in this series. They aren't like most depictions of angels, which is part of what makes them interesting to me. I also really like the designs of the environments and levels in the game. They're very unique from each other. The character of Bayonetta may be one of the biggest reasons why I love these games, but I do enjoy the side characters, like Rodon, who's spelled like Rodin but is pronounced Rodon, Enzo, Jean, and Luca. Rodon owns this interdimensional bar called the Gates of Hell and is pretty much Bayonetta's arms dealer. Enzo is pretty much Joe Pesci, and he's Bayonetta's intel guy. Luca is kind of her rival and somewhat her love interest, but not really. But Jean is her main rival. She's an Umbran witch like Bayonetta and is a cool character, but I don't think she's as fun as Bayonetta, but I think that was by design. Bayonetta actually got adapted to an anime movie in 2013 called Bayonetta Bloody Fate. It's got all the right voice actors from the Wii U versions of the games, and it takes some liberties with the story here and there about when characters are introduced and where, and certain scenes are set, but it hits all the same important beats of the story and is very faithful to the style, characters, and world of Bayonetta. The art style of the anime is definitely unique and not the exact same as the games, but I really like it. And I would definitely say the easiest way to watch it would be on the Funimation Now app. That's at least how I did it. Sadly, Bayonetta suffered the same fate of another classic made by these developers, Okami. It's an amazing, critically acclaimed game that failed to meet sales expectations and led to difficulty in making a sequel. Thankfully, both of these games eventually got really good sequels that didn't disappoint and were actually on Nintendo platforms. But a couple key differences are that one, I think Bayonetta 2 is actually an improvement over the original game, where I don't think I'd say the same about Okami Den over the original Okami, and at least Bayonetta 1's failing sales didn't lead to the end of the studio like it did with Clover Studios. I don't really have any major complaints about Bayonetta 1 or the series in general. The only thing that annoys me are the QuickTime events. I don't really like them, but they're a staple of the genre. But other than that, I definitely think that anyone who even somewhat likes spectacle fighters should pick up Bayonetta 1 and 2. The Wii U version is cool considering that it has the addition of the Nintendo-themed outfits that Bayonetta can wear, which also give her different weapons, and it's a small thing, but I think that they help make the Wii U version unique. Regardless of which platform you play Bayonetta on, it's a must-play game. The Bayonetta games are pretty representative of what I look for in games in general. It's got a lot of great style, highly polished gameplay, likable characters, and this game just exudes fun at all times. It's hard to be upset whenever you're playing Bayonetta, unless you're playing on higher difficulties, because the game gets hard. But For my money, I think the Bayonetta games are the best of the genre, and some of the best games Platinum Games has ever made. And considering the general quality of their games, that's saying a lot. But regardless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Memory Card.